Muted. Can everyone hear me? This is Jacob with the IUBCC.
I can hear you.
Cool. So it's 11 o'clock, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start here with roll call. Kayla is actually unable to join us for the first bit of this meeting, and so she asked me to kind of start the meeting off for her. So I'm going to start the roll call off with Cleveland Clinic. So Revathi, are you on the call?
Hi, Annette is here from Cleveland Clinic.
Annette, okay. Do you know if Revathi is going to join us later?
She might be stuck with a patient. I'm actually working remotely today, so I'm not sure.
Okay. All righty. So from IU, Jennifer, are you on the call?
Good morning. Yes, I am.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Savannah, are you here?
Hi, I'm here.
All righty. And then from Mayo, Amy, are you on the call? Yeah. Okay. Kevin, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Cool.
Did you just ask if Amy was on? Amy is on the call.
Oh, she is? Okay.
Away from her phone for a second, so she.
Okay. Thanks. All righty. And then Janelle, is Janelle on the call as well?
No, she's not today.
Okay. All righty. And then from Virginia, VCU, Stephanie, are you on the call?
Stephanie is not, but I'm Rebecca. I'm here.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Okay. And then from UMass, Lisa, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Cool. And then I know Donna and Monique won't be here. Mary,
actually, Monique is here.
Oh, Monique is here? Okay, cool. And then Mary, are you on the call?
Mary should be joining us shortly.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, and then from University of Louisville, Chanakya, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, and then Praneet?
Yes, I'm on the call.
Okay, and then Amar?
Yes, I'm on the call.
Cool. From the University of Pittsburgh, Carol, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Cool. And then UTSW, Samantha? All righty. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Again, if you can see me, I'm Jacob. One of the data managers here with the IUBCC, and then sitting across from me is Janetta, she's one of the other data managers, and then in a little bit, Ronnie, our third coworker, will join us for the presentation. Go ahead and I'll get the PowerPoint up for you so you can see it.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Revati from Cleveland Clinic. I'm sorry for the delay.
That's okay. Thank you.
This is Samantha from UT Southwestern.
Okay. Thanks for joining. Alrighty. It looks like everybody who should be here is here, so we'll go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so today I'm going to be walking you through the REDCap that we developed for, specifically for AlcHepNet. And so I'll kind of like go through some key points here, just on like the data management personnel, how to request things that you need to do to sign into REDCap, user access, then take you through a brief like navigation tour of REDCap that'll be in the slideshow, primarily for future users, people who are trained in the future, but just as a quick refresher for those of you who've seen REDCap before, and then as a kind of an intro to REDCap for those of you who have not. And then at the end, we'll kind of touch on the data management aspects that we will be touching on and sending, queries and things like that. And then Ronnie just joined us, so. So if you guys want to introduce yourself, I'm Jacob with the IUDCC. I'm one of the data managers.
I'm Janetta. I'm the lead data manager for this project.
Hi, I'm Ronnie.
Yeah.
The data managers.
Yeah. So we wanted to do the video just so you can kind of see us, because our job is a lot of computer stuff. And so it's kind of nice to put a face to the name, especially with stuff that, we're going to send you a lot of questions. Don't want you to hate us. So one of my favorite analogies ever to describe pretty much everything is herding cats. And with data management, it's very much a team effort. So like herding cats, it's not an impossible task, but it does require the input of everyone to complete successfully. So it's not just going to be us who successfully, create a data set that is good for analysis. It would be with your help as well. So there are a few of you, kind of moving on now, that have not sent me your usernames for the REDCap, and so you do not have access to the development site, the training site. And so if you could do that, if you have not gotten an email from me explicitly saying that you have received access to this training site, please do so, this week. We would really like you to practice. And if you have access right now, as I go along, it would be really helpful if you could open it up and then move along with me, so you can kind of click as I click, essentially. I find that it's helpful to learn that way. And so again, these are the instructions on how to request the account. It doesn't take long. And one of the things that IU requires for all of its site or like websites is two-factor authentication. This completely skipped my mind when I asked you to create your accounts originally. So this is something that everybody has to do. You can do it either by email, or you can download an app to your phone called Google Authenticator. It's a really simple app. It's on Android and iPhone, and I will walk you through how to set that up here in a minute, because there are a couple of things that aren't super intuitive on how to get to the spot to set it up in REDCap. But I would recommend using the Google Authenticator. The email can be kind of finicky sometimes. Their server doesn't always work, and so you might click to authenticate and then have to wait 20 minutes to log in, but Google Authenticator will get you in within seconds every time. So definitely recommend it. So for user access, and if anybody has questions along the way, please feel free to jump in. So coordinators and approved data entry personnel will have access to the development database as soon as they send me their username, which is really important. And this is important because we're going to have you enter 2 subjects worth of fake data before you're given access to the actual training site, or to the actual production site, before you're actually able to start entering data for real, just to make sure that you're familiar with the REDCap and that you're able to navigate to every important spot. And so we will, once you have entered those fake subjects, we will check what you've entered just to make sure that you did it correctly. And there are a couple little weird things in each of them that I'm looking to see if you can catch. It's not too hard. Everything's pretty straightforward. And with the user access, we're going to give each of you the minimum access necessary, which for coordinators will be read and write typically. So you'll be able to see the data that you enter, and you'll be able to enter data. And then for project PIs and other personnel sites, they'll just have read access if they request it. Okay. So for managing user access, it's really important that we stay on top of this. We don't want to have a lapse and have someone, have access to data that they don't need access to. And so we would really appreciate it that once you find out that you're not going to be on a project anymore, or on the project anymore, to let us know. Even if it's ahead of time, we can set the REDCap to expire your user access at a certain date, so the date that you leave the project. And if you could do that within a week of finding out, that would be great. Same for people coming on. We really want to avoid username sharing and password sharing, which is not good. So if you let us know, we can get everybody set up and make the transition as soon as possible. In addition to that, we will be monitoring user access. And so if people who, haven't used the REDCap for about 1.5 to 2 months, and their enrollment's still going on, people are still being entered, that looks kind of suspicious to us, and so we might expire your account. This isn't a permanent change. It can be reversed if it was done unnecessarily. But again, just let us know what happened. If there's any change in personnel, or if you need to leave for a certain amount of time that might look odd to us, we don't know about it, we would really appreciate it. Okay. So we're going to move on to the actual AlcHepNet REDCap. So first, for those of you who don't know, REDCap is an electronic data capture website. This is how the IU-CTSI describes it. So basically, it's just a website where you can create forms and surveys that are specific to a study. It's pretty flexible. It's a good tool for this type of research. And if you want to read more about it, I put the paper citation, and then I'll link to the CTSI webpage here. Okay. And for AlcHepNet specifically, we have 3 main projects in addition to that training database. We have our screening database that holds all of the screening information for all participants. And we have the study protocol deviations. So all the protocol deviations at the study level will go in a separate database. And then all subject level deviations will go with the subjects in the AlcHepNet database, which is the main database that holds all of the information that you'll be collecting. Okay. So these next few slides, there's going to be a brief how to navigate REDCap for those of you who've never used it before. One of the quirks with the IU REDCap website is they have all of these notification boxes before you get to the user login, which I wish they would put this up here, but they think this is more important. So all of this is not us. This is the REDCap team, the REDCap admin. So if you go to one of these sessions, we probably won't be there, but you're more than welcome to. So once you enter your user and password, you'll be taken to the REDCap homepage. And there's pretty much nothing on here that you need to pay attention to except for this little bar up here. And it's really just this link. So if you click on My Projects, this is where you'll be working most of the time. So you look down here, if you scroll down a bit, and you'll see all your projects. These are the 3 main ones. And to get into a project, you just click on its name, and it'll take you to the home page for that project. Okay. And then on the home page for the project, the only thing that you need to pay attention to is the name of the project, and then this sidebar right here. I would advise looking at the name of the project just to make sure that you're in the right database every time. I've made that mistake where I've had similarly named databases and I'm accidentally entered a record in the wrong one. So just to make sure that you're in the correct one. Okay, so then I'm going to go through this sidebar over here. This is where all the important links are. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far? No? All right. So the sidebar, very important. These top 3 links will just navigate you back to the project homepage, your projects page. You don't need this link right here. I don't know if you'll see it because you won't have access to setting up the project. So you can ignore that one. So what you really need to focus on are these guys down here. So for the record status dashboard, for those of you who are unfamiliar, it is a link to a table so you can view all of your enrolled subjects. And then I'll have all the forms that have been entered and not entered, etc. And I'll show you that in a minute. The Add Edit Records link right here is just that. It's a link to the area where you add a record. Okay. And notice that all of the important links are in red right here, for those of you who need the extra help. So moving down to the applications, you have the data exports, reports, and stats. This is just a link so you can actually see the reports that we make for you that are specific to REDCap. This isn't the same as the reports that we send to you about quality control or any queries that we have. This is just about data that's entered into REDCap. And right here is the field comment log. I believe you'll have access to it, but it's not necessary. If you click on it, you'll just see all the comments that you put next to questions, which we don't recommend doing because we can't use that for analysis. And then we probably won't check it regularly. And so if you comment something, we probably won't see it. Okay. And then the file repository, I'll show you what's in it in a minute, but this is where we're going to store up-to-date versions of the case report forms. So you'll have multiple places where you can access those, which I think is important. So going down, is data quality. So this will be the section where you can go and check to see how many missing values you have, things like that, to see if there are any outliers. So anything that looks funky to REDCap, it'll highlight for you. It's like if someone has a BMI of 60 and our range is set to like 20 to 40, it'll pop that value up and ask you if it's correct. Things like that. You won't have access to this external modules buttons. You don't need to worry about that. This project bookmarks section right here, this is just a link to both of the other REDCaps, so you don't have to navigate back out to your projects page. If you don't want to, you can just click here and it'll take you directly to the project. And then this little reports tab down here will hold all of the pre-made reports that we put into REDCap that will pull on the data that's entered as it's entered. Okay. So that's just a broad overview of what you'll see on the sidebar. So I'm going to kind of expand upon that now. So this is the record status dashboard. So the things that you really need to pay attention to are in boxes right here. So you have your little legend for the icons right down here, incomplete, unverified, incomplete. These are the arms of the study, which I will do a live demo. So I'm going to walk you through this then as well. But the way we set it up is we have 4 quote-unquote arms. They're not like arms as you would know them in a study, but they're more of like how the data is grouped. And so we have a subject profile arm, so that's anything that's specific to a subject regardless of which study or which arm they're in. And then you move on to the study-specific arm, so like the observational study cases, and then the controls, and then eventually you will see the clinical trial here as well. That will be in this database. Okay. And then moving on, so for the records in the record status dashboard, they each have a row. So this is record 21001. And then you can see which forms have been completed and which ones haven't. So gray is if it hasn't been filled out, green is it has been completed, red is incomplete, yellow unverified. Okay. And then to get into a form, if you click on the bubble, it will take you directly into that form. You don't have to click on a subject and then click on the form in the subject homepage, which I'll show you in a minute too. So this is the subject homepage. This is all the records specific to a subject. The only thing that you need to be aware of when clicking here, so if you click on the subject's ID, it will take you to the subject's homepage. But you need to make sure that you're on the correct arm when you do click their ID. So if you're looking to enter, I don't know, like a visit, and you're on the subject profile arm, you will only see the subject profile forms, and so you won't be able to enter the data that you want to enter. So just be aware of that. But this is what the visit will look like. So all the visits, the baseline, week 4, week 12, week 24, and then the medical records follow up. It's pretty simple. Try to keep it as simple as possible so it'd be easy to navigate for you. And this guy right down here, So for any forms that are repeating, so like the CONMEDs, the hospitalization forms, they will have these tables that pop up that break down which forms have been entered, and then most of them will have the date that they were completed right next to the bubble. Okay. So this is the add edit records. I wouldn't recommend using this for finding existing records because it's really easy to add a new one on accident. So I would just use this for adding. So you would click the subject arm that you need. So when you're creating a new subject, you would click arm 1, enter the new subject ID, hit enter, and then it'll take you into the newly created record. Okay. Then this is the file repository. Again, this is where we're going to store all of the CRFs for you. And right now I have the packets in there, but eventually every single form will be in there. Okay. And then one of the unique things about this REDCap is that pretty much all of the visit-related forms are in one REDCap form. So they might be separate paper documents, but they're all in the same form in REDCap. And these are all of the questionnaires and CRFs that are contained within the one visit form in REDCap. Does anybody have any questions so far? Yeah, this is pretty basic, so pretty easy to grasp. Okay. So I did want to kind of give you an example of a new subject data entry workflow, just so you're aware that step 1 is putting everything into the screening database, and then move on to the main AlcHepNet database. And then when you do go to the AlcHepNet database, these are the steps for you. I'm not going to go through each of them right now because I kind of will walk you through it in the demo, but it's here for your reference for those of you who haven't used REDCap primarily. And then once you've entered the data, we would like for you to verify it. And so you should, once a form is complete, mark it as green complete. That way you know and we know that you believe the form to be filled out in its entirety. If it's incomplete, mark it as red. If something looks funny or you have a question about something, mark it in yellow and then let us know if you need us to look at it or if you want to just look back at it yourself. And that it's really useful to look at the coloring scheme like that. Yeah, to help you track the status of the completion status of your forms. And we would also like you to use the data quality module, which I'll show you in the live demo, to check for the completeness and the accuracy of your entries. And so you can check for missing data, and then again, those outliers, things like that. Okay. I'm going to move on to the actual REDCap. Okay. So yeah, when you get to the REDCap homepage, you'll see this. You'll have to scroll down to log in. It's kind of annoying. I'm sorry. I'm going to log in. Okay, and then this is when it'll ask you for that two-factor authentication, and you can do email to begin with. But I do recommend downloading the Google Authenticator. It really expedites this process because it can be kind of cumbersome with the email. Since I'm an IU employee, we get to use Duo instead, which is a joy. So I'll send it to my phone. Okay. And when you get in, here's the home page. It took me directly to my project because I was logged in earlier, but usually it'll take you here, and you'll have to navigate here. So then you'll scroll down, and you see the 3 main projects. I have all of mine organized into files, which you can do yourself. You don't have to, since you'll probably only have access to 3 in the IU REDCap. Yeah?
And the slide that says REDCap demo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were showing
sorry.
the REDCap.
Is there anyone who's not on a computer? I forgot to ask. Is it not showing my screen?
No, it's just showing the PowerPoint.
It should be showing the screen. I'm sorry. There you are. Can you see my screen now?
It just shows the REDCap demonstration slide, and that's it.
Hi, this is Monique. I have the same thing.
Okay. Let's see, share. There we go. Cool. Can you see now?
Yep, we're good now.
Awesome. The login part is pretty simple. But yeah, once you log in, you'll probably land at the home page. There's nothing here that you need to really worry about. So click on My Projects up here, and then you won't see a change up here, so you have to scroll down. And then you'll see this. I have my projects organized into folders, which you don't really need to do. That just allows me to hide and unhide projects if necessary. So when you click on AlcHepNet, this is the one I'm going to show you since it's the main one you'll be using. It's where you'll spend most of your time. So you'll come here, Means project setup, you won't have access to this. So you really just need to worry about what's over here again. So if you were to enter a new subject, you would start with Add Edit Records. You would make sure that ARM1 subject profile is selected in this drop-down menu right here. Okay. You would enter their subject ID, save that, hit enter. It'll take you to their record homepage, so it's specific to this subject. You would fill out all this information. You would click on the bubble, complete the info here, save and exit. This is one of the errors that you might see. So since I didn't fill out everything, pretty much all the data is required. And if you forgot to fill out something, it will mention it here that you missed it. It won't take you directly to the item that you missed, which is unfortunate. I've suggested that they do that several times, but it hasn't happened yet. But it will tell you which item that you have missed. So if you can go back and fill that out. And then, this is another thing that you'll have to do. I'll talk about it in a minute. I don't know why it's doing it right now. Yeah, you do that for each of these records. So yeah, the subject profile, I'll show you, contains all the subject-specific information, same as the case report form. Shouldn't be anything that's surprising. None of the questions should be surprising in here. ConMeds. So this is where ConMeds will be held at the subject-specific level. It won't be at the arm of the study-specific level. Just in case one of the alcoholic hepatitis subjects is enrolled in both the, so is enrolled in the observational study and then in the clinical trial study, or enrolled in the clinical trial study and then in the observational study. So you won't have to do any double data entry when it comes to the ConMed. We also have the pregnancy notification form and then the documentation of death form right here as well. Okay. So you can go back out to the record size dashboard if you want, but to continue adding the subjects, you'll go back to Add Edit Records. This is one of the finicky things about this REDCap. So in order to make it so you wouldn't have to enter a lot of double data entry, we set it up so that we removed the things that would be useful in both studies onto its own arm. So you do have to re-register a person in their study-specific arm. So you would go back here, again, type in their record ID, the same one that you did before, and then hit enter. I don't remember exactly what it is. You change this to their arm, type in whatever it was, hit enter. Or register the person in their study-specific arm, and then this is where you would enter all of their visit info. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far? It's kind of a lot. No? So when you go into the visit form, Oh, these are popping up and they shouldn't be. The first question you'll only see this question is whether or not it was done. So if it was completed, click yes, and then you will see all of the information necessary to enter. If the visit wasn't completed, click no, and then this is where you'll see, did you follow up by phone? Yes. The phone script will pop up with the questions that you should answer resulting from that conversation. If you didn't do the phone call, click no. And then the medical record information should pop up. If it's not right now, there's an error in the branching logic. So if you see something that ever looks funny like this, it's actually the teaching moment. Please let us know, because if a question that should be there isn't there, we won't know until someone lets us know. So if you see this, please tell us. And this will be all fixed before you start entering data. Okay, so moving on, once you've completed the visit, you'll go to labs, enter labs like normal. If you didn't collect something, click not found, that collapses it. You can move on to samples. Enter your samples. This is very basic information about pretty much just how many samples did you collect in terms of how many tubes of blood, and then how many were frozen, so we can check based on what was sent to UMass to make sure everything that you collected was sent. And then like date and time of draw, things like that, just in case one of the translational studies wants to know how long a sample was not frozen. Again, go through all of these forms. The study form is here, protocol deviation for the subject is here. If they're hospitalized, documentation hospitalization form is here. And then the biosample and data destruction request form is here as well. Okay. That's a pretty broad overview of entering data for a new subject. So if you wanted to enter data for a subject that has already been registered, this is like your second or third follow-up, you would start out here probably, and then you would click on the record status dashboard, okay? And then you'll only see information that's specific to your site. It'll pop you up on the arm that you were clicked on last, I believe. So click on their arm, so if they're an alcoholic hepatitis case, click on arm 2, and then you would go find their visit, click on visit, enter the data. Pretty simple. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. So again, here are all of the like data exports, reports, and stats. You can view everything that we create here. You can view the report. There's nothing in here that you need to see. This is just to show you an example. You can look at the statistics for it. It'll pop up some graphs when there are actual data points, which might be useful. Here's the file repository. You can download documents here, and everybody will have access to this. Okay. And then, let's see, data quality. So after you've entered a participant, we would really appreciate it if you would come here and then look through a couple of these. So missing values, look at that. This, for me, it'll show everybody's, but for you, it'll be site specific, so you probably won't see 495. But you can click on here, and then it'll show you the specific missing values. And then when you click on one, it'll take you to the form and then to the value in the form. And so you can fix all of them that way. This one right here will probably be more important to you though, since the majority of the items are required. So they do basically the same thing, except this one is just required fields. Okay. Let's see, here's the outliers quality rule, and so if anything is out of range from what's been entered in REDCap, it'll let you know. And it might be okay. It might say that it's wrong, but it's not wrong, and that's fine. Just let us know. We'll probably ask you about it too in our data quality, like the quality control queries. You might use this one, the hidden value or fields that contain values. So if you're entering data in REDCap, I use a lot of skip logic. So if you answer yes to a question, it populates a bunch of other questions. And so if you're entering data and you click yes, and then you, I don't know, accidentally click a checkbox that's below that question, but didn't mean to, and then you change your answer to no, and don't delete the response, those errors will show up here. And so you can go back in, make sure that it's actually incorrect, and then fix it and then delete it. If it isn't incorrect, then you know to go back in, click yes, and then fill out the appropriate questions. Those are pretty much the only ones that you need to worry about here. Okay. On the side here, you have your project bookmarks. Again, you click these, and it will take you to the other REDCaps, which I'll show you here in a minute. In the screening database. And then if you want a shortcut for the reports, that's down here. You click on it, it'll take you directly to the report itself. Does anybody have any questions before I move on to the other databases and to show you how to set up the two-factor authentication? All right. Okay, so let's start with the screening database. This is the screening database. It's a one-form screening form. So you click in. This is where we'll hold some of the enrollment information, things like that. With the date that they were screened, the study in which they're being enrolled. So if a person is to be enrolled in both, so like if they were in the observational study, once the clinical trial starts, they want to be enrolled in the clinical trial, their participation in the observational study will stop, but you still need to keep this checked. So then you'll check clinical trial. And then what that does is that populates the correct screening questions for the participant, as well as and it works with this as well. So for this person, they're a healthy donor, so they won't be in the clinical trial. So this will populate the screening questions, you fill those out. So that a person who is in the clinical trial, should what that looks like. With the observational questions come first, since it's starting first, the study. And then, this is what I get recognition. And then the clinical trial questions will come at the end. Yeah, so there. Let's do this person. Okay. So you'll say yes, they could assign their consent, and then put their heavy drinker. Observational pops up. Yes, they sign the consent, date of consent, and then all of the to be determined criteria for the clinical trial. Okay. Does anybody have questions about that? It's a pretty simple database. That's all there is to it. Okay. So this is the study protocol deviations. So the way it's set up is you will only see one record for your site. And so we'd like you to just add a new instance each time. Hopefully there won't be very many of these. And so you'll just tell us what the protocol deviation is so we can adjust. Like if you aren't going to collect a PBMC at all, fill this out, then we'll know not to bother you since we're not seeing it entered into the database. And that's really it. It's a super simple form. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far about that, anything? Tried to make this as simple as possible. Makes it easier for you guys. Okay, so for the two-factor authentication, we do have some time left by this time. You'll go back to the REDCap homepage, and so, or you can go to your My Projects page, and you'll click on My Profile once you're logged in. Yeah, you'll have to log in using the email to authenticate, but you can log in. So once you log in, click on My Profile, And you'll see this set up Google Authenticator for two-step login. And then this will walk you through how to set it up. It's pretty simple. You just download Google Authenticator onto your phone, open it up. It'll prompt you to allow it to use your camera, or you can enter a code. But the QR code is pretty simple. You scan the QR code, and then it'll populate REDCap as one of the keys for you. And so when you go to sign in using Google Authenticate, you'll click on that option after you enter your username and password. It'll give you a spot to write I think it's a 6-digit code. You'll open up your Google Authenticator app. You'll hit the refresh button if you signed in recently, and then you'll punch the code in, hit enter, and you'll be logged in. It's pretty simple, and it's a lot more reliable than the email, which I can't stress enough. So I've had several individuals come up to me asking me why they can't log into a project because the email server on the REDCap side was down for some reason, and it had taken them like 20 or 30 minutes to get that authentication email, which is kind of a bummer, especially when you've got a lot of work to do. Okay. So that's pretty much it for the REDCap demonstration. Does anybody want to see anything else? Did I go over something too quickly? Anything that you want me to point out? Any questions? Okay. All right. So we do have a couple more slides to go over. That's not what I wanted. That's fine. You can see it. What's the share? Okay, switch back. Can everybody see the PowerPoint? I'll make sure that I'm in the right spot.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, cool. So there are a few sites who will be doing direct data entry into REDCap. And because of that, we introduced a question that asks you how you're entering data. So if you're doing from paper to REDCap, you would select I forget what it says specifically, but it's not direct data entry. And if you are directly entering into REDCap, you'd select direct entry. And this is really important because of the source document requirements. This question will populate a signature field that you will have to sign for each of the forms that require a signature, as well as a date field. And so I can't stress enough that you really need to answer those questions to maintain compliance. And that's something that we will monitor as well, just so you know. And then because of this as well, if you make any changes to an existing record, and this goes for everybody, you will have to give a reason why. And that's that box that popped up when I tried to save that record earlier. Just so we can make sure that no one's making any extraneous changes to record or anything that might not be ethical, to keep a tight control over that. Okay. And then these are all of the error and pop-up messages that you might see when you're using REDCap. Okay, so this one, this left-hand one, top left, is if you were to, you're entering data, you click yes, populates a bunch of fields, you click, accidentally click like a date field that's been popped up, but you actually meant to say no. You go back to change your answer to no, and this error will pop up asking if you'd like to erase the value that is going to be hidden that has a response. And so if you click OK, it will erase that value. And if you click cancel, it will keep the value even though it should be hidden. So just make sure if you see this that you actually do want to erase this, and then click OK. If you don't, click cancel and then change the answer to that question, the yes, no question, to yes, or whichever will populate the field. Okay. This one on the top right, incompatible checkbox selection. So there are a few checkboxes with none or none of the above as an option. And so if you try to choose none of the above and then another option that's above none of the above, you'll get this because you can't, if you choose none of the above, you can't choose another answer. And this is just letting you know that it will clear your other selection or to not check none of the above. So if you click yes throughout the selection, it will delete your other response. if you hit cancel, whatever the prompt is there, yeah, cancel, it will clear the none present or leave the option. Okay. So on the bottom here, you will see on every single record that has been entered in REDCap. So it's not an error. This is just a message letting you know that this one record ID has been entered twice in 2 different arms. So this should happen for everybody. There should be one in the subject profile and then a record in the study-specific arm. So if you'd like, this could be a good way to check that you've entered both correctly, to make sure that you put the same record ID, but you will see this on every single record page. Okay. These two, let's see the top one. So a lot of our fields in the REDCap project have some sort of validation, meaning that we've specified ranges that the input should have. So like if it were a date, none of the dates should be before, like if it's a visit date, none of the dates should be before the start of the study. And so if you try to enter a date that is before the start of the study, you will see that your entry is out of the range, and then it'll tell you what we suggest as the start point and then the end point. And so this isn't a hard, like, no, you have to put it within this range, but it is alerting you that, hey, we defined these, this is what we think it should be. If it's not that, let us know. But you can still go ahead with it. So like if you have a BMI, our BMIs are, I believe the range is like maybe 15 to 45 or something like that. But if someone has a BMI of 60, which happens, I've seen it, and you enter it in, it'll say, hey, this looks kind of wrong, but you know that it's correct, so just hit cancel or close, and it's fine. And if you like to, you can just let us know that, hey, this value is correct, because we might come back and say, is this really this person's BMI, or did you accidentally put like their age here or something? Something like that. Again, this one on the bottom is the required fields. So if you miss a question, you forget to answer a question that's required, this will pop up. If for some reason you really do need to leave it blank, you can click ignore and leave record. I don't think you should. I don't think that'll ever be the case, but just in case, you can ignore it. It's not a hard need to answer this question. But it will tell you the questions here. Click OK, go back, answer them, and then this will go away. So these two you'll probably see quite a bit. So you're aware. Okay, and then this is the, I think the most important error to me, at least. This is a branching logic error. So if I ever make any updates or anything to the REDCap that are behind the scenes that you don't know about, and then you're going to enter a record, you click on like to enter information in the visit form, and this pops up, it'll pop up right away. Please take a screenshot of it and send it to me, like right away, because this will affect everybody in that uses the REDCap. And it pretty much invalidates all the branching logic and all the skip logic that I have entered. And so you'll see questions that you don't need to see if you click OK. You'll be prompted for things that you don't need to enter. And so it's really important that you screenshot it, send it to me so I can fix it really quick. Yeah, definitely send an email. Okay. So this is the last bit. We do kind of want to touch on some of the things that we'll ask from you, some of the things that we will send to you. So we will be monitoring data collection and quality. So what that means is we will extract and check the data for completeness and accuracy every so often. This would be about, let's see, we're going to do that after the first 2 subjects are enrolled at each site. So we're going to check the baseline data just to make sure that you guys are okay with the REDCap, everything's being entered correctly, that there aren't any issues just right off the bat. So if we can fix anything that needs to be fixed right away. And then we will start to do that on a monthly basis as well. And so these are the things that we will monitor. So actual versus target accrual by site. The timeliness of data entry, we would really like it if you would enter data within 2 weeks of the subject visit. It's helpful for you and it's helpful for us. It's done, you know, as you go, and if you keep up with it, because there's quite a bit of data that you will have to enter. And we'll be looking at the quality of data as well, some missed entries, data entry errors, data that looks kind of strange, things that are out of range, etc. And then we'll be monitoring missed or partially completed visits as well. We would like to make sure we're on top of those. Okay. And then on a quarterly basis, we will send you a report, a quality control report with queries, and you'll have 2 weeks to respond to the queries. And then yearly, we will audit each site remotely. So 10% of the subjects that are enrolled will be randomly selected from each arm on each site. We'll ask for you to send those data collection instruments to us, the paper forms. We will manually go through each form to make sure everything has been filled in correctly on the form itself and then has been entered correctly in REDCap, just to make sure that we're all on the same page with all of that. And then after we're finished manually checking everything, we will send each of the coordinators a report and a letter with details of what we've found. Okay, and then that'll be within 2 months of receiving the material. Any questions about any of that? No? All right. So if you ever run across a message or anything that was weird or strange, like what I showed you in the REDCap earlier, like the branching logic error, please let us know. We don't know what we don't know, and we can fix things pretty quickly once we do know that they're an issue. And then here's kind of what we're responsible for. So if there's a REDCap issue, please message me. If there's anything about the quality control on any of the queries that Ronnie sends you, message Ronnie. If there's anything related to data or data management process, please message Janetta. And we'll help you as quickly and as to the best of our ability as possible. Okay. And then again, if you ever have any questions, please ask. We're here to help, and we're not mean people. We're not going to judge you if you have a question that you even think is maybe like slightly silly. So please don't be afraid to reach out to us. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? That is the last slide for the training. Any comments, concerns?
Hi, this is Jennifer here at IU. Just a quick question. That branch logic, and you said, screenshot and send it to us. Do we hit OK, or do we just not touch anything and wait for you to get back to us?
So if you do hit OK, it will show you an incorrect form. So if you're able to, please just screenshot it and then just leave the REDCap alone until we tell you that it's fixed. That would be great.
Okay. So can we just exit? Let's say it's Friday o'clock, like we can just close out kind of the wrong way where we just exit out and just leave it.
Yeah, so you can hit, if you hit OK, it will just show you a wrong form, so you can just hit cancel and don't save data entry. So you can exit out that way, or you can just close the window. But it is form specific, so you could move on to another form after that if you want. You don't have to stop data entry altogether because of it. So
okay, I just wanted to make sure, because, when you talk about screenshotting and send it to us right away, it's like, what do we do next so we don't break the system? So I just wanted to make sure.
That's a good question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, anybody else? Peter, Amy, do you have anything to add, or did I forget anything?
Nope, this was pretty thorough.
Okay, cool. Alrighty, well, if there's nothing else, I guess I could give you, 8 minutes of your day back? Is that, a longer one than usual, yeah. So really appreciate y'all sticking with me through this. If anybody needs any specific help, or for the folks who haven't used REDCap before, if you'd like me to walk you through anything else, please let me know. I prefer to answer your questions now as opposed to later, to help you out through this process. Do you guys have anything that you want to?
When do you plan?
Oh, yeah. Completely forgot. So I put together those 2 test subjects, and I will be sending those out this week. So if you haven't already sent me your username for the REDCap, please do, and then you can start entering that, and we can check it, so we can be, hit the ground running when the IRB is approved and everything's good to go. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, do you have
I'm going to ask you to come back eventually. But they're filling out a form and they found out writing everyone. Should they just close it out like that, delete the data, or save it to that point?
Don't save it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they don't.
Yeah, so don't ever, if you get a branching logic error, please don't save the data. You'll have to re-enter it anyway. Because once you do fix it, things will get a little funky. So just cancel it. You know, don't save the data, exit out, send it to us, and we can fix it really quick for you. All right. Anybody have anything else? No? Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you stay warm for the folks who are affected by this polar vortex.
Thank